Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Ready for a masterclass on AI? So, what do you know about AI? When you think about AI, you probably think about all the expectations, all the inflationary talk that you hear, the buzzwords. And so what I'm going to do in the masterclass today is I'm going to demystify a little bit of this buzzwords, a bit of this hype that we hear. I'm going to be very concrete about what you can do with AI today to solve your supply chain problems, and then what you will be able to do in the future. And so we'll try to give you a very quick overview of how you can improve your supply chain leveraging AI. Quick word about myself. My name is Alexis Rotenberg. I'm your speaker today. I work for a Canadian company named Kinaxis. We are based in Ottawa, and we have invented a unique platform that helps large companies around the world to fix their supply chain problems. I live in Windsor with my wife and family, and I have spent like the last 25 years working on AI. So I'll share also a little bit of the history behind what you can do today with AI. So as we all know, supply chains are some of the most complex systems to handle and to manage. And there are a lot of silos in the supply chain. There are a lot of different systems that you need to handle. You have organizational challenges within your company. You have organizational challenges to collaborate with your suppliers. And you have challenges with your customers. So supply chains are already complex in say, but since COVID, the level of change, the volatility that we face, and all the problems with the suppliers have exponentially increased. And without AI, we will not be able to follow the rate of change that we see today. And so we need to reinvent how we manage our supply chains, leveraging AI to deal with all this complexity and changes that we face on a day-to-day basis. So what are typically the problems that we see in supply chains? The first one is the latency between when someone spots a change in a supply chain and the time the others in the supply chain are made aware of that change. Let's say you have a change in your market because of COVID, for example. How fast does your supplier know what the consequence is for the customers? Or if you have a ship stuck in the Suez Canal, how fast do the manufacturer knows what the impact is for the production on the production lines? There is a lot of manual work and silos in supply chain. So a lot of departments have inherited very old systems or are upgrading their system architecture, but it's happening in bouts and not in a coordinated way. And so you end up with a spaghetti of systems exchanging data. You have bespoke processes between different departments, and you have people still working in Excel today and sharing information by email in some cases. And finally, the customer is suffering from all the volatility that we face today because the supply chains are not able to respond to these changes fast enough. So supply chain executives and their teams are really fighting two different fights. First of all, amidst all this disruption, they need to make sure that the business keeps performing. They need to make sure that they deliver to their customers. They need to make sure they are cost competitive. But at the same time, they need to build a new architecture, a new future for their companies, because they know that what they had in the past is not going to work in the future. There is just too much change, and the old, outdated system architecture that the companies have today cannot handle the level of change. So the reality is really to find the right balance as a supply chain executive between delivering today and preparing your company for what's coming tomorrow. And very often you don't have time to work on both, so it's a continuous balancing act where you fight a fire, something happens in your supply chain, And then you see that there is technology to solve your problems and you need to start projects. And so you are continuously dealing with these two competitive situations. One of our customers expresses it very well. Rogerio Branco from Eaton Corporation says that the techniques and processes that we have relied on for the past 30 years will not survive the next 3. And so we really have to reinvent our supply chains. And Kinaxis, with our cutting-edge technology and with our AI, we are helping all these larger corporations, mid-market corporations and others to reinvent how they run their supply chains. The stakes are high because we know that with volatility comes costs, comes service disruptions, and those are directly impacting the business. And so anything you can do to re-engineer, to re-architect your supply chain will directly pay off for your business. So what we are offering Kinaxis is really that you shouldn't have to choose between operational excellence and customer experience. You can address the problems of today. You can run your supply chain, fix the issues and the disruptions that you face, whilst building the future and creating a solution for the customers so that they will have a better experience from your supply chain. And you can have both. You can really have it all. And I will share now how AI can make this happen. As I said, Kinaxis is a Canadian company. We are the market leader in supply chain management and orchestration. And we have a platform that helps customers really scale up and become ready for the future. So how do we orchestrate a supply chain using this cutting-edge platform? The idea is really that we have to stop thinking in silos. Most companies have evolved their planning, their sourcing, their manufacturing, their logistics in isolation, and they have implemented bespoke systems in each of these areas who are not aligned, who are not working together, and who are difficult to orchestrate. And as a consequence, if something changes for one of the departments, let's say if something changes in production, it takes far too much time to adjust your plans. And so what we are proposing is a solution in one platform where when there is a change anywhere in your supply chain, everybody else in the company is made aware and can understand the consequences. So if there is a line breakdown in production, or if there is a late supply from your supplier, or if there is a change of mind from one of your customers who cancels their orders, or if you win a tender, you can immediately start running scenarios, understand the consequences for everybody who is involved, share ideas about how to make changes in production with your suppliers, and then choose together what is the best solution for everybody. Because as you create scenarios on this platform, you can dashboard the consequences for everybody who is involved. So when you make a change, let's say, for your production line, you can understand the impact on the service for your customers, you can understand the costs impact for your logistics, or you can understand what it means for your suppliers to adjust to this new production plan. So everything is synced in real time. It's done in scenarios. The scenarios are shared with everybody in the company, and if you want, with all the parties that you work with, your suppliers and your distributors, to really come up with the best plan as fast as possible. And that's really our proposal. It's really this ability to orchestrate and to allow everybody together to come up with the best plan for your customers. I'm going to illustrate how this platform makes a real difference compared to how companies normally do their supply chain management. In a traditional supply chain, as I explained, every function has their own systems, and everything is done sequentially in a cascaded manner. Often you have different systems for the different departments, and they share information also in a stepwise approach. So if, for example, something changes on the demand side, let's say you change your forecasts, it takes really a few hours, a few weeks, a few months sometimes, before everybody in the chain has been able to align their plans with that change, right? That's the reality that you have today. And it gets even worse if you also extend the cycle to execution. Because once you have made a plan at the top of this picture, and so once you have decided at the executive level what you want to do, once you have updated your forecast, once you have made your supply plan, once you understand your inventory and capacity, you have to execute the plan. And again, on the execution level, you have a lot of systems involved, which means that again, there is a lot of latency before everybody is aligned. And as a consequence, it takes quite a long time for everybody to change their plans when there is a change in the order book, when there is a change in the factory, or when there is a change with any of their suppliers. That's a traditional situation. Companies are really slow. We call it lethargic, because it takes time to share information across the silos of an end-to-end supply chain. In the new way with Kinaxis, what happens is that, as I mentioned when I introduced our orchestration platform, instead of having different systems and different departments working in isolation on the changes and then passing on the information to the others down the chain and up the chain, we do everything in one platform. So whenever logistics makes a change, or whenever production makes a change, we can show the consequences for all the others in scenarios and start collaborating across different functions to come to the right decision. Same on the execution level. If there is a change during the transportation, or if there is a change during the execution of a purchase order, we can reflect all these changes immediately in real time for everybody else involved in the chain. And this improved agility really becomes hyper agility when you have so much change as we deal with today. Because today there is change on a daily basis. If you look at the last 5 years, we have had geopolitical problems, we have had the Suez Canal story, we have had earthquakes, we have had cyclones, we have had all kinds of problems that make everybody in the company and outside continuously revise their plans, right? And so with this platform, you can do all this in real time whenever you need to get an updated picture for what the consequences are for your particular department and how it impacts your customers. So that's really what our platform is all about. It's providing this hyper agility so that the plans you make at S&OP level for demand planning, for supply planning, for your inventory, for your production are continuously updated so that you can see and minimize the gap between what different departments think is the latest plan. And by doing that, you can really play much shorter on the ball. Every time there is a change, you can respond as one company and work towards aligned goals. So our platform is also very intuitive. It's a layer on top of your execution system. So let's say you have implemented SAP. So we built our digital twin of the supply chain on top of your ERP, your execution system. And then what we do is we visualize your supply chain and we start alerting the different departments about when something is wrong with the plan or when something is wrong in execution. And from there, it triggers workflows where people can work on scenarios, as I mentioned, and solve their problems. So what we have done is actually to put planning and execution in one roof. And the idea is really that every customer can deploy these capabilities that we have put in applications at their own pace. So you don't have to implement planning and execution in one go. You can start with demand planning and gradually unlock more value from the platform, or you can start with execution and then add planning to your solution. But the idea really is to put your end-to-end supply chain management orchestration in our platform to create that hyper agility. And you don't need to replace your existing systems. You just put us on top of your systems. You build the digital twin or the representation of your supply chain. And then as you get alerts, we build workflows to solve problems with scenarios in our platform. The way we can make that happen is because we have a very unique technology platform. It consists of three components. The first one is we have a unique way of loading data from a multitude of systems into our platform to represent the supply chain digital twin. We call that the supply chain data fabric. And basically what we do is we create pipes to your systems to collect your product master, your bills of material, all the information we need to have an accurate end-to-end representation of your supply chain in our system. The second thing is the AI layer. So the intelligence engine that you see in the middle is all the complex mathematics you need to really make sure that when there is a change on the order book, you understand the consequences on the production floor, or for the suppliers, or for logistics. In each of these areas, there is very complex mathematics at play to drive efficiencies, right? You don't produce without taking care of the sequence of your products. You don't do logistics just sending empty trucks on the road. And so there is a lot of optimization that's happening in your supply chain. What our advanced intelligence engine does is it offers a lot of artificial intelligence options that we mix and match to make sure that we really have an accurate calculation of the consequences of changes throughout your end-to-end supply chain. And then the third thing, because we are on top of a lot of systems and we are allowing a lot of users in a lot of different departments in your company and in the supplier community and on the distributor side to collaborate, we also need a very intuitive user interface to allow everybody to understand with a minimum of training what they need to do to become part of these collaborations, to look at the scenarios, to look at the alerts, to understand the consequences, and to solve the problems collaboratively. So this is how we have built the platform. And the uniqueness is unique data model. So we have one data model for the end-to-end supply chain. We have one set of algorithms, AI, for all the industries we cover, and we cover all the manufacturing industries. And a user interface that you can configure, you don't need to customize it, for any role in the supply chain that needs to be part of the orchestration. That's why Kinaxis is the leader on the Magic Quadrant for supply chain planning solutions. And we have the highest number of references in the industry. And so when the Gartner analysts check who is working with Kinaxis and how successful they are, we have the highest number of references to share, and we have the highest vision. And you see we are high up in the Magic Quadrant because we also have one of the highest visions about how supply chain management should be implemented. So I mentioned the middle layer in the technology platform, our optimization engine. And so the important thing to understand is that with one type of AI, you cannot solve all the problems that you have in a supply chain. To really be efficient and effective solving supply chain problems, you need to be able to mix and match different techniques. And you probably heard about the different techniques like machine learning, optimization, genetic algorithms, generative AI, deep learning, and that's not even the complete list. But if you talk about artificial intelligence, there are a lot of techniques available out there. Some are very old and have been used in very specialized areas, and some are very recent or very popular recently, like generative AI. But it's really combining the different solutions that gives us the ability to help supply chain executives to become hyper agile. So what does AI do? Well, it assists people to solve complex problems, right? If you would try to solve all the problems that we face through the disruptions and the volatility that we face today, you would need a lot of human brain power. There are just too many data, too many problems that are surfacing these days in a supply chain to handle with only humans. And so we need to use AI to help the humans to solve these problems. And that's why you need AI. So what can AI do? AI can generate recommendations. And so when an alert comes up like there is a ship blocked in the Suez Canal, what are the options that you have available as a company? AI can give you recommendations based on what you did in the past or based on insights that are available in the data. We can predict and surface insights. So for example, if your promotions are not successful, you as a planner might see it, but you might not have the time to do a full analysis of all your promotions and find out what is wrong with your promotions, right? So AI can go through your promotions and surface insights. We can provide speed and scale. As I said, humans have limited time, limited ability to digest a lot of data. With AI, we can go much faster and really catch the disruptions either before they happen based on the data, or find better solutions based on all the data that are available. We can use AI to automate processes, and we can use AI to assist the planners to be more efficient and to work by exception. This is a kind of level deeper how AI can solve supply chain problems. Not going to go too much in the detail, but basically AI plays a critical role in our platform to improve the resilience of the supply chain of our customers by really handling disruptions. I mentioned the Suez Canal. What we saw when a ship was blocked in the Suez Canal is that our customers started to use scenarios exponentially in the system. So the consumption of our scenarios was exponential during that crisis. But that happens every time there is a crisis now. Second, agility. When there is a problem in your supply chain, if you rely purely on humans, it can take some time to find the right solution. AI can help make the answer much faster. Big data I mentioned, and there are just too many data to digest. Scale. You want to grow your business without adding as many planners as you have today in proportion to your growth, right? You want to improve planning productivity, so AI can help with that. And AI can also help with the quality of your decisions, because as I mentioned, AI can help you dashboard things and make things much more insightful for the decision makers. So these are all the applications that we have worked on with our customers when it comes to AI. So it goes from demand forecasting over product lifecycle intelligence, through parameter maintenance, root cause analysis, bottleneck optimization, help for the planners. And so we use a generative AI to help our planners, inventory level optimization, pricing optimization, you name it. There are lots of use cases that can be improved or automated with AI. And we are working on these use cases with all our customers. And so these are real capabilities that are deployed in the industry. So this is really the crux of why AI has such an important role to play in supply chain orchestration. One thing I mentioned and that is unique to our platform is the way we fuse different techniques. So there are a lot of different AI techniques that you can combine. And the challenge is, of course, to know which one to use when, right? Generative AI is very good with text and to make things more understandable or to summarize information for planners. But it's not that good to optimize a supply chain constraints. And for that, you would use a linear program. To be more agile, you would use a heuristic. And so there are a lot of different techniques that are available to us to optimize your supply chain. And the magic of our platform is how we fuse different techniques. You can combine statistical forecasts with machine learning-based forecasting techniques. You can combine heuristics, scheduling algorithms, and linear programming. You can combine linear programming with generative AI to explain the results to the planners. And so there are different ways in the platform to fuse AI. Of course, not all these fusions are available because we work on a use case by use case basis with our customers, and then we share it with other customers. But the fusion is embedded in the platform and makes it possible to combine different techniques for different problems. So I'm going to talk you to a few very straightforward examples. So one of the most interesting areas where artificial intelligence really makes a difference is, of course, forecasting. First of all, you don't want your demand planners to look at all the forecasts for all their products. And typically, a demand planner manages a lot of products. Typically, a lot of products have different statistical models used to predict them. And each of these statistical models typically has a lot of parameters and tuning options available to make the forecast better, right? So getting help from an AI to manage statistical forecasting so that the planners can focus on the more important forecasting problems and leave the business as usual and the more easy to forecast items to the AI is really a wise decision. Some of our customers call it low-touch forecasting. Basically, they want the demand planners to look at alerts and at very important forecast issues, and they want the AI to do all the rest of the forecasting. Traditional forecasting techniques, they only use sales history as an input. So what AI can do is it can be much more intelligent than that. It can use any kind of causals. It can use weather, it can use price information, it can use vacations, it can use back to school, it can use all kinds of drivers that might impact your forecasts. And better than a human, an AI can test out different ideas. So it can test which of these drivers is relevant for which product, and then really build features that your statistical algorithms can use to take into consideration the weather where it makes sense, to take into consideration promotion information where it makes sense, to take into consideration weather information where it makes sense, or anything else. If you have the data, AI can convert it into a feature that can be absorbed by a statistical algorithm. And that's what we are doing with our AI. We are really producing features that improve the forecast accuracy, because everybody in the room here knows that the history that your statistical models is using will not repeat itself. If you run a promotion, your forecast will not be the same as your historical sales. If your prices change, or if your competitor changes their pricing strategy, you can't just replicate your sales history for your forecast, right? You need to use other information like pricing, weather, promotions, anything that really has a serious impact on your future sales. And that's what we do with AI. And we are running a lot of these pilots to really incrementally improve the statistical forecast accuracy that you can get with more traditional methods. So let's take a vision of where this could lead us. As I mentioned, some of these playbooks, as we call them, might not be live yet, but all the components of this story are already available in the platform, and our customers are already working with these components. So let's imagine you're selling sunglasses, and you realize as a planner that Taylor Swift she was wearing a very special type of sunglasses at her last concerts. So the idea is you would ask the question to the generative AI, right? And then the generative AI would interpret your question. It would look and collect all the data about the impact that this sunglass model has felt due to Taylor Swift using those glasses at the concerts. It would then build a production and produce a feature to change the order pattern for you. And so this is combining a lot of different techniques, as I mentioned, and all these components are available. If a customer wants to test out this use case, we can work on it with the customer, and build this up in steps with them. So that's an example of the power of AI fusion for the demand sensing. So it's really about more than accuracy, right? You could say, is it improving the forecast accuracy? But it's much more than that. Typically, we get increases in accuracy, but more important, it allows you to validate your forecasts that was based on market intelligence, and it gives you a productivity increase because now you have an AI helping the demand planner, meaning that they can cover more items and focus on the more important work. Let's go then on the supply side. So on the supply side, as I mentioned, we do a lot of fusion, and the reason is very simple. If you want to orchestrate an end-to-end supply chain and be hyper-agile, you need to be able to propagate changes at the speed of light, right? So if there is a demand change, you want to make sure that everybody in the supply chain knows about it. Your suppliers, the production sites, the transport companies, all of them need to know about this change. So you need the speed of light, and the only algorithms that can go that fast and propagate the calculations that quickly for such big digital twins are heuristics. But as we all know, heuristics do not optimize your supply chain. They just make sure you can meet the demand and that you respect your constraints. That's what the heuristic does. So what we are doing to make sure that our customers can still optimize their supply chain is for the parts of the supply chain where optimization is required. Let's say you want to optimize the cars that you produce on the production line, and you want to use cost optimization for that, or profit optimization. That's not something a heuristic can do, but our linear program can do that. So what we are doing in this case is we combine a heuristic to propagate the demand, we get the production requirements out of that heuristic, and then we optimize them with the optimizer. We pass the optimization result back to the heuristic, and the heuristic repropagates the result throughout the network. And that gives us the speed of the heuristics and the optimization that our customers want for their production line. And that's really the magic of this platform, is the ability to do this fusion and combine all different kind of techniques. But it doesn't stop with heuristics and optimization. We also combine planning and scheduling in the same platform. This makes it possible to understand in real time what happens if you change the schedule for a production line, for the production plan, or when you change the production plan, you can understand the impact immediately for your schedule. And you can run scenarios, checking back and forth what is the best production plan and what is the best schedule for each of these production plans. This gives you a lot of flexibility to make sure that the plan that you make is also the best for your schedulers to work with on the shop floor. So this is an example of supply.ai, or fusion of AI for supply planning. I actually already mentioned how it works, but here you can see how we combine heuristics, optimization, and if you want, also generative AI. Again, in the past, you could do optimization, you could run heuristics, but the problem was always the slowness of creating a quality plan. And it used to take many steps. Because of our fusion, you have the ability to build your plans much better and much faster. So just in the interest of time, I mentioned generative AI, so we have all our documentation, and we have 30, 40 years of documentation about our platform. We have it all digested by an AI, so that when the planners have a question, they don't need to go through a documentation, they can simply go and ask the AI for help when they are stuck in their workflows. So that brings me to the conclusion of this session, or this masterclass. In a nutshell, our platform is something that you put on top of a lot of systems, and that provides you the hyper agility your company needs to deal with all the uncertainty and volatility that we face today. And you can start small. We are working with mid-market companies, but we are also working with some of the largest companies in the world, some with 200 or 300 billion revenue. And so we are working with companies $750 million revenue to $300 billion revenue. And you can scale and build your own capabilities and become more agile over time in the sequence as you want, because our platform is driven by applications, by apps, and you can switch them on in the sequence that you want. Few success stories, not going to go through. I'm sure everybody will have access to our presentation, but I hope you found it entertaining and that you learned something about AI and how it can help you orchestrate your supply chain.
Thank you very much. Yeah, have a big round of applause. Yeah. So we run out of time. We haven't got time for questions, but you can ask your questions in a personal chat with Alex. So thank you very much. And let's hear it for Alex Rodenberg.
Yeah, thank you.